இது இதுதான் டிஃபால்ட் இன்புட். இப்போ நம்ம பேசுகிறோம்ல, இதுதான் டிஃபால்ட் இன்புட்டு. அது வேண்டாம் நமக்கு.
இருக்குதுப்பா வருதுப்பா வர்றது.
இது டிஃபால்ட் இன்புட் வேணாம் ப்ரோ. இந்த மைக்ரோசாஃப்ட் ப்ரோ மைக்ரோஃபோன்
பில்டிங்
மைக்ரோசாஃப்ட் டீம்ஸ் ஆடியோ. இப்போ கேட்குதா அப்போ பேசுகிறது? கேட்குதுல்ல? இது தூக்கி போய் முன்னாடி வச்சிடலாம். வேறு சேஞ்சே பண்ண போகிறது இல்லை இதில். இது தூக்கி அப்படியே கொண்டு போய் முன்னாடி வச்சுருங்க. பேசுகிறதெல்லாம் கிளியராக கேட்கும். இப்போதுக்கு வேறு வழியில் ஃப்ரண்ட்டில் அந்த இது இருக்குல்ல மைக்கெலாம் வைக்கலாம்.
அது யாரும் பேசக்கூடாது.
இல்லை அங்கே பேசுகிறது எல்லாமே இங்கே வரணும் தானே?
ஆமாம், முதல்ல வரணும்.
அங்கே பேசுகிறது
We will be starting the session. We are not starting it officially just so that I don't fall asleep. We will play a game. So I will show you an image. You just have to find the differences in the image. A very small, simple game. Alright? Yeah. I mean, this must be nostalgic. You must have played this in your childhood. Right? Find the differences in image. Right? You will have two similar images. Just find what are the differences among them.
Maybe think like as a visual code review.
And then on the very first number.
First. Yeah. First image from so that was a
டிஃபால்ட் தான் ஒர்க் ஆகும்.
நம்ம ரெக்கார்டும் பண்ணலாம்.
The last one.
லைவ்
Here. The last one. Okay, fine.
Okay. Okay, yeah. He's giving handshake there, he's saying hi there. Okay.
ஒரு நிமிஷம் டீம்ஸ் இருக்குல்ல,
வருது அது வந்து ப்ரௌசர் அது
ஒரே நிமிஷம்
இதெல்லாம் ஆன் பண்ணுங்க.
நீங்கள் இது வெளியே போங்க. இங்கே உங்கள் மைக் வந்து ஆஃபில் இருக்குது.
அது வந்து ப்ரௌசர் ஓடுது ஜி. ஹியர் இட் இஸ் ஒன் மோர்.
இதுதான் டீம்ஸ்.
ஓ இதான் டீம்ஸா? ஓகே ஓகே.
டீம்ஸ் இது வந்து
இது ஆன்
பெஸ்ட்டு
பண்ணி
வைங்க.
இது ஆன் பண்ணிடலாம். ஓகே
ஆ
இது ஆன் பண்ணி
எஸ்.
Officially, formally. Fabric of how to build, how to train, how we do all of our day-to-day activities. So, with that, we do have another icebreaker session. It's not all icebreakers. We just take the smaller games because I really not want to go to big city, but this one is good. So, the one that we are going to have is better, but another one is good.
We have so many technical sessions lined up. Before that, we just want to break the ice and just warm up our brain cells with like quick puzzles. So how many of you here played that connection challenge? Can you just raise your hands? Very few. Okay, don't worry. We are not going. It's not going to be as tough as even in your production code on Friday. So it will be very easy one. Yeah, all you need to do is scan this QR code, take up your phone, scan this QR code, and choose the name. Obviously, the name is going to be very funny, and choose the funniest name that you want, and join into the quiz. Okay, we have 10 questions planned for it. So your task is simple. All you need to do is combine the words, combine the images that you are going to see in the screen, and come up with a word or a phrase that represents. To keep the things little more interesting, we have winners also. The top 3 winners going to get small reward from us. And this game is again, we have something else like the fastest singers will score the highest points. So make sure you are guessing fast, type it fast. Okay, everyone join. Everyone will join in. Everyone will start in 1 minute. Please make sure everyone is joined in. Okay, we will start. Here is your first question. Yes, the famous So just type it. Let's see who is talking the first question. Which line? I hope some line is there inside. Yeah, the next question. Look at the image. You can find the TypeScript related word. I hope this is not a difficult one. We have some more difficulty questions at the end. Yeah, the next question. Look at the image. You can find the TypeScript related word. Okay. Out of 41, still we have 20. Let's see off. Sorry for this time, you get some right now. Now, can you guess this company's name? I know this was a nostalgic one. We have answered for this. That's great. It's Microsoft. The fourth question. So the leaderboard will be keep on changing till some more questions are there. Can you guess this famous mobile company? You should not tell out outside. Just type it. It's Nokia. Police trolley. Guess the A term. Is that pretty tough? None of them started answering. Oh, it's shown incorrect answers. Plus even say something you want to tell you. The English C. Okay. Just look on to photos. C fake. Okay, fluffy match. I don't know who. Okay. It's a principal assistant and then again it's a PC one. They are using it regularly. I don't know much about word, which you know, it's very easy. Like, you know, to hear it every day in the long run. Okay, everyone giving different answers. First one is, how many classing number? What's the second one? It's a bot. Oh, God. Just combining. It's a chat bot. Okay, here comes the seventh question. Guess the eighth term. No wrong answers are allowed for this question. Two. Just combining three words. Three images. Yes, that's the right view. Yes, the eight. It's very easy. Just crack it. If you form the first image, then it's easy to frame the work. It's machine gun. First one is machine and the second one is learning. Someone is trying to learn something. Here, Mr. Writing continues to steal the first spot. 9th question. Guess the item. I'm getting the answer still here. So you should not say the answer outside your. The next question will have a double pointer, so it's a chance to come whoever is nearing the top. There's a chance till you can beat it in the top. So make sure you are answering that question. It's a double pointer. The question has double points. Yes, the eight. Sometime back, we have talked about this. Just a clue. It's a large language model. Let's see who is top. 3. Captain Hacker is in the 3rd place. Okay. Please feel free to collect the spotlight and share with your friends. And the second one is policeman. The first one is Mr. Ayub, as name as. I hope you have all enjoyed this connection created. I hope now you all warmed up your brains and it's time to officially kick off the event. I would like to welcome Arvind here for giving a key welcome note. Before that, Arvind brings the unique blend of technical expertise, leadership experience, and the passion for building applications at scale. He brings over 50+ years of experience on the IT industry, currently serves as a e-commerce division, engineering manager at Force e-commerce division, and currently managing the team working behind the vehicle configurator platform. And on a personal note, he is also my manager, so I need to make sure I prepare this introduction extra special. So welcoming Arvind to the stage.
Thanks, Pavitra. A very warm welcome to everyone here. Welcome to Chennai Engineering Meetup. So when I look around, I'm very happy to see this room is almost full, although it's not completely full. And I can see a mix of crowd here, right? People who are software engineers, architects, leads, developers. And I also see a lot of young minds, young innovators, as I would like to call them, right, who are fresh out of college and would really change the world for us. Whether you're writing software for about 10, 15 years or whatever, or if you're just venturing into software engineering, this is the right place for you. Why? See, the complete landscape of software engineering in the today's meetup session is around AI agents. We have 2 sessions lined up for you all today. One by Sudha T. Sudha is an architect in the Ford Motor Company. She architects some of the brilliant systems that we are exposing to our customers. Sudha will be talking on interface architecture for the age of AI agents. After which we have a short break where we all can network. And then, thanks to our sponsors, Sithil Sami from Sizes would talk about what Sizes is all about. We have another exciting session lined up by Rajesh Kumar on understanding AI agents and workflow orchestration. So Rajesh is a senior software engineer in PSN. Followed by presentation and Q&A, right? Without any ado, I would like to invite Sudha, but before that, just one thing I would like to request you all to let's make the session interactive items right after lunch. So that's why we had that warm-up exercises. Let's make the session interactive. Let's ask questions. Let's stay curious. There's nothing wrong in asking a why if you don't know something, right? And there's nothing wrong in asking or suggesting, can we make this better? And that's how we together can learn. Over to you, Sudha.
I want to introduce you to her. She's our very own Sudha T. She has around 12 years of experience in IT. She's currently working as technical lead and architect at Ford. She has experience in full stack architecture, front-end organization, and engineering leadership. Beyond her corporate role, she's a passionate mentor, public speaker, and also a community organizer. She's someone who truly believes in empowering everyone around her in tech. So, I was a lot of applause to you, Sudha, and all of us. Good afternoon. I hope you will be prepared for breakfast. Really excellent, right? Is it audible now? Thank you for waiting and keeping up with Roshina and Pavitra to make up to my event. And we are glad to host the Chennai region at Yuniq. Thanks to Yuniq and for our sponsor Sizes as well. And today my topic is about interface architecture for the age of AI agents. Okay, any idea for anyone about what the topic is going to be about? At least what type of concept that I am going to cover. What you are looking for from my topic? Anyone? Sorry?
Types of AI.
No.
See,
Okay.
how to interact with the AI models.
Great. Yeah.
Different elements of AI, interfacing with different things.
Okay. Good. So the main, see now in the age of AI agents, we are all focusing about the main MCP server, MCP function recalling, and how to use the MCP as the base foundation and build on top of layer for that more infrastructure and to provide for the customer, right? So always our end users going to be the main customers. So my topic is about the customer facing interface. So what is an interface? It is not just a simple button, not just a screen, right? It's just the entire front-end or surfacing layer that every customer relies on with trust, right? Let's say we go to ATM machine, we saw a UI with more buttons, and we click a button and we trust the flow. Whatever happens behind that machine, we don't care about the infrastructure, what systems gets up, or with our software architecture, what API that goes behind those buttons. The end user doesn't care really, right? He or she just trust our interface that we are going to show, and they are just going to go with it. So my topic is about the architecture, about the interfaces that we are building up on top of our AI agents. Yeah. Okay. So before jumping into the interface architecture, the base layer has to be data. Right? Data is what we provide to all of our customers. So let's say I'm just projecting the history of data, how the front-end developers of the front-end is consuming the data from. I just started from 2000s REST. I see few backend developers were in place, right? So we have used REST. So REST is for what REST provides. REST API, yeah. What is REST? Sorry? Status. So let's say for a client, it gets the endpoint or the URL. The client completely relies on the URL, right? And we do get bugs. The reason we change something in the backend and the frontend doesn't know that the backend has changed something and the client broke, right? The page broke. And whenever the user faces on the production, we all have that faced some production scenario where we have broken something unintentionally, but we pushed last minute changes, right? Okay, so this is about the data content, right? They just have some flaws that we are not able to correct, which is something, when we change something in the rest, the interface doesn't know it, which is solved by the GraphQL. Is a GraphQL? Yes, right. So we have GraphQL offers flexible queries. We have queries, mutations, subscribe, in which it offers the client decides what I want, right? Let's say I just want the employee information. I use the same API, but I just say this is the information I want from the backend, and I make use of it, right? So one such problem that was in the REST is solved by GraphQL, right? Okay. Now we are in the stage or at the moment where all are just learning about what is happening in the AI. Okay, at least I should try this out, or I should try this application out. So at least before 2 years, we are not even, ChatGPT was in place for more than 4 years, but still we are not even touched before 4 years, right? Until my next developer start using the ChatGPT, hey, I didn't know that this exists, but it was been existing before that, before he uses it, right? And now we are in the model era where we are evolving from the LLM models, MCP tools, and we are focusing on the next to next, right? But those are all just advancement of the features that we are building upon, right? These are not the new features that everyone is building upon. Let's say I'm using the LLM model as a base for everything that we build on, right? Related to AI, anything, agentic UI, agentic RAG, right? RAG is you might have used to that word, right? The agentic topic that comes in place, right? So everything, the base is LLM model. The same way MCP tools or the function tool calling. So all the base that everyone builds upon. There's nothing new with actually the base of AI agents. It is just how I have configured in such a way, or how I have orchestrated in such a way, in that way that my end user is going to use this way, or what is the product that I'm going to build to my customers. This orchestration is what Rajesh is going to cover in the next session as well. And this is what actually everybody does, but the base foundation is still the same. So we have to lay our architecture very strong that whatever we build upon, absolute core exists. So I'm just not going to explain MCP in detail, but I see there are more than 4-year experience and less than 3 years. So I just will give a heads up on MCP, and my topic is about the agentic UI that we are building now and how to architect it. Okay. So I just want to understand the audience. Anyone has built an MCP server? Only 4. Okay, I'll just explain MCP for 2 minutes so you can understand the concepts that I'm jumping in. Okay, so you are using, I see many suggested LLM models of Cursor, Claude, ChatGPT, right? That's, as I said, that is the foundation of any product that you build upon. Without that, we will not have internet that I communicate with, right? So how internet is the foundation, same way LLM is the foundation for everything. So you know that ability. So only there are 3 layers as the base for MCP, and you already know one that you are using it on day-by-day basis. And other than that, MCP tool needs only 3 different layers. One is host, another is client, another is server. Like how we use on MVC applications, right? Model, view, and controller. In the same way, I have a model, which is the front end, and view, which is the front end, and I have to define a model or a DTO from the back end. I have to define it. And the controller has the server logic that we have the core business logic of the database queries and everything, right? I will explain a simple MCP tool function that you could understand how MCP would be like. Let's say I have an MCP server and I write, maybe I don't need to create a new MCP. There are existing MCP services, right? Let's say I take an external of GitHub MCP, right? It is easily configurable. So let's take that as an MCP server. Okay, that is nothing but a function that is exposed to publicly. That's it. You just write a function and write whatever the logic that you wanted. In function, you get as an input, right? Now the input would be what the chatbot, the user enters it. That would be input for the function, and whatever result it gets back, it comes to the chat again. This is the MCP server it is, right? So let's say as I take the GitHub MCP, I ask, I take the example of the chatbot as my interface. I get a query like, I want my team's PR list, right? What it would do, it would try to discover what are the tools attached to my chatbot. It must be using personal Copilot and everything. So it would analyze what are the links, what are the tools it has connected to my chatbot, and it will know if that's a word PR. It is linked to GitHub, right? So it searches the GitHub tools. And there are more get functions, post functions, get PR, get the issues, get the profile information, get the user information, and it's all APIs will be listed out automatically, right? This is the existing one. So when I get my team's PR list, it will hit the right API. That's just API, right? Just a function call or GitHub MCP APIs that we consume. It gives me the list of PRs and I get as a message, right? Can anyone say in the chatbot if I type, can you give me my PR list as very simple use case scenario? What would be the output of the chatbot? List of PRs, yes, but how it will be displayed to the end users? One is great. One more point.
Date and time based. Yeah.
True, correct. I'm actually expecting these kind of answers fully. So please open up to share your ideas.
Object table.
If there is more than one, there may be an array or a table, right? Yeah. So it will be simple structure where you see as a markdown file or text formatting is a one line, right? And if there is a PR number, let's say 5051, maybe a hyperlink, but once I click it, it will open directly navigate myself to one GitHub issue, right? So that is an interface that I see in my chatbot, right? So now let's say if I'm building an application and I need an interface, something like that, would I build something like a markdown file or a simple bulletin points with a PR list? No, I'll be just creating about it. I'll talk to the product owner and I'll get his inputs, how it has to be presented to the user, and just taking a GitHub scenario. But take a real use case scenario, imagine a use case scenario of your product that you're looking at. Product owner will be saying that this is the list of items that has to be displayed, greetings message, let's say. We start with the greeting message and then we navigate to this page and we provide links to the users to go to the next pages, right? So that is the interface and how to architect that with when you are consuming as a backend layer for MCP. And so we'll just talk about an MCP and we need a UI, right? So maybe if you are already worked into something of an MCP tool and built something anything front-end Angular interface, and in the backend if you have called an MCP, you have already covered MCP UI, which is halfway through of my concept, which is MCP UI. Okay, so as I explained, this is my app. And AI model, it could be any model that you wanted to use. We are going to switch back, right? I can configure the switch back, and this is my MCP server, right? So let's say I just explained the MCP detail, which is MCP server, right? So I get whenever you call an MCP, it could be something like a markdown or a data or a JSON format in simple way, right?
So on the JSON is sent to the LLM model. Through the LLM model, the app receives it. And whatever you does with your app is the code that you write. Right? Maybe let's say I'm hitting an config customized HCP tool and I'm getting the login information. Let's say I log in as Sudha and I'm getting the user information with some query that I asked. Give me my user info. That was my query for my app. MCP server gave me something like Priya, let's say Sudha T, technical architect, and phone numbers. If I type in my organization scope, it will be the information, let's say, it will be 3 information I get, right? And I'm giving it to my app. What would be the display information I would do? As a React developer, maybe I would write a customer card with a profile photo at the left and the Sudha at the right. This is the usual customer card we use, right? There's nothing wrong with it. So this is the customer card I would develop and I keep it handy. So whenever a customer types something about user info, I'll make sure I'll configure or I'll write my function MCP tool that, hey, use whenever you give this JSON, go to the customer card, put a name here, and put an email ID here and display it, right? I'll show you the example as well. So this is my CRO.lookup. Yes, we shall. As you can see, this is just a demo, very simple demo that I will show or explain what is an MCP UI. So this is a CR.lookup is one of an MCP cool function that I have made. This is just going to give me information simple like a profile information. So let's say I'm getting this and I'm getting a customer card, right? So this is my, let's say I gave this is a chatbot. Assume that this is a chatbot and if I type something like, can we look up the information for the order ID 800 and getting the information that it belongs to Priya and she is the VAT customer and there are 14 orders in that link to that Priya's account, right? Just taking one more example as well. You could see here there are two different statistics card here. So based on the, like I mentioned, when you call an MCP server and you get an output and you say when the query belongs to a particular type of version, you fix or the developer fix that this will be my output to the end user, right? Let's say in this case, I have manually coded that when they click to look up whatever the JSON input it comes and feeding into the customer card. And in the same way, when they click the get charge, I have manually feeded that this is a statistics card, whatever the JSON that comes from the get charge will be fed to the amount and the taxation customer card. I will show you the code as well.
Okay. So if you could see here, this is the tool one that I have registered as my one of my tool, and this is my action handler. This is my input, and this is my action handler. If you could see here, I have created a UI resource function that I have written. I'll show you what I have written inside it as well. So this is the output that I get, input I get, and I'm feeding that into my customer account. So now I have hard-coded via BAP and everything. So whatever the information I get JSON from the LLM model, I'm feeding it to the customer card, and it is getting displayed. Okay? I'll show you one more example as well. This is not at all customer card information which I have pre-built. This is a random UI that I generated on spot, let's say, on spot it is pre-designed, but still there is no pre-built component exists. I just coded something like a div element with a custom CSS and show that taxation card. Nothing big, right? This is what MCP UI is. You create a UI resource and you feed whatever the customer pre-built components that you have. If you could see, I have some pre-built components called catalog here, and I have some buttons, badge, chart, customer card, and the event card in place. And if I want, I can use this in place. I'll show you what I have written in the create UI resource as well. So this is the URI of what the component that I have to use, and this is a MIME type. I'll explain the purpose of MIME type later as well. And content, the data JSON format that I get, I'm just inputting that, and animations. If you have a create UI, MCP create UI resources a library, if you could consume that with the 3 parameters that you could inject into it. MIME type helps understand that this is not a JSON format, and this is a renderable UI component that you have to display in your chatbot. Even if you create a chatbot, you have a question. Open up. I'll just show one of the UI again as well. Okay, so this is one created UI resource, which is a custom one created with div element, and this is one customer card that I have used. And I go to this one. This is what MCP UI is. You create a UI resource and you see. And this is the evening card. If you could see. This is the output I might get to subject and the body, and I will using the same pairs. Right? So this is MCP UI. So this is good as well. This is what we are actually doing. Do you think any problem already available in this MCP UI that I explained?
But you have to take manual component.
Correct. Anyway, we will create manual components, but one thing that you partially what you mentioned is about I'm feeding the card into that UI, right? I have only 4 functionalities, and I have to be very sure that these are the 4 functionalities that is doable with this app, and then I could use the MCP UI concept itself, and then I can go with the pre-built components in place, right? What if I wanted to have some dynamic UI, let's say based on the query. Let's say if you are building something for an enterprise application, there will be multiple FDs that comes in place, right? There will be different queries. Let's say they wanted to get even a pull request. They won't even have a pull request keyword or the GitHub also in place. They will type in a way, because everyone will not be a developer. If you create some app for enterprise users, not everyone will not be developers, right? It could be product managers, or it could be someone who's not even aware about the development keywords, right? Still, I'm not sure how they will make a request for pull request, but still, what if they make it? How will we understand? How will you give a dynamic UI with the information or output? Maybe LLM gives you the output, right? Because I'm writing some customized MCP function, and it is giving me the JSON. But what I would do with the JSON if I don't have the right component to render? What if it is uses to randomly uses the customer card, and there was no field to display for something? It won't show error. But what if there was an expected field that you build a wrong condition on? It will break the UI, right? So what happens in that problem? Or I create one more easy cases, right?
I'm a sales, let's say I'm a salesperson and you are a marketing person and you logged in. And for a salesperson, you wanted to show different information. And for a marketing person, you want to show different information. Say, let's take DevOps. Uh, there are SI engineers and DevOps engineers, monitoring people, and everyone. Like, based on the login form, you said, what if I wanted to give them a dashboard? They wanted to use the form, right? You can't decide. Like, you can't make one developer sit there and make sure that, okay, there might be a new feature coming in, and I want this type of card, and I want this customized dashboard comes in place. Please make this change. Then we have to keep on overriding it, right? I'm just going to show you a. So, how many, even I have done this, have you? Even now, we do that because sometimes tomorrow we have to deliver something, we have to show some demo. We are still doing that, right? Because we have no other possible way we can cover the scenario rather than writing that based on the authentication token or the role that they have set. I have to write this code somehow, right? I'm not saying that this is bad. If this is the only case that you can cover, it has to be like the component has to be controlled. Component control has to be on the developer side. There is no other way that you can change this line of code. Maybe you can use switch cases. I'm not saying about how you write the code, but still. This is how we validate the conditions, right? What I'm suggesting the next approach would be something like the A2 UI, which MCP UI doesn't solve. MCP UI is nothing but we named it. It just built some UI on top of MCP. That is what the demo I have shown as well. There was an MCP already existing. I just built a UI, just something on the top. But what if I gave you a one kickstart, which will help you write the agent composed interfaces, which is the dynamic UI or adaptive layouts that you don't want one developer to keep on working there. Because as a customized dashboard we use, that is not the main feature development that we are going to focus, right? We want it to be dynamically run upon. So how to stabilize that one step at a time, right? People jump into the topic now. Okay, so this is A2 UI. Google also providing how to achieve. This is not library that it's just a concept how you can change your architecture, right? And make sure that these changes are adapted to accommodate the adaptive layouts or the multi-agent parallel workflows. In my first demo of the MCP, where I showed it again, there was a sequence to right? It can be parallel as well sometimes, right? Based on the one output, you go to the other, and you go to the other. Finally, I want some decent UI layer, like same thing. Think you are already on the way, something like that, right? This is what we are going to see. I'm just with the flow diagram. Let's say user comes in with an intent, and I'm calling an MCP tool. It gives me a JSON, right? I use my catalog, which is some components that I have, and I display to the user, right? Still, I'm using the same flow. This is the same flow I use for MCP UI as well, right? I'll show you the difference where I have made a change as well. So now we talked about data contracts, REST, and GraphQL. Now we are talking about the interface contracts, correct? I will show you an example of how A2 UI is covered in my use case. This is my agent step with the parallel navigation. So these are the steps that I have. I will show you demos. I wrote this function validate blueprint. Blueprint is nothing but that is a dynamic flow, the blueprint. Just nothing but a diagram, right? Blueprint of any architecture diagram, right? This is I named it that way, but this is the function that I have added. What it is making sure is that whatever the JSON comes in, and I'm making sure that it's dynamically fits the component that is available in my catalog, and just feeding those data into those components and forming a statistic layout or a dashboard of what the intent user wants. Let's say if I show you the so this is I have made with A2 UI. So let's assume I gave an algorithm because I wanted to show how multi-agent flows in as well for any newcomers.
So this is the same, whatever we have done here, I'm doing the same flow here. But triaging all four to five, four tool calls, and this is the one response where I'm composing the JSON blueprint for the UI rendering. If we could see here, this is my final product. Okay. I'm just using the same customer card and same statistics layout code or the definitions that I have. You can write your own components as well. So what is the difference I have made sure is that I'm still using the catalog components, but validating through the agent compose interface is that I'm feeding these as input along with the system prompt that I write. Example. This is how my production, I know this is the demo, but this is how my input schema will be like, right? Let's say whatever input that you goes with, there will be system prompt that we always checks in with, right? Whatever the user writes, there will be system prompt that always goes in with MCP. If you want to writing something customized, we always do that, right? So with the system prompt, I'm just inputting all my component codes that is in place, and I'm feeding it to them. Based on, if you will see here, I'm giving information about statistic card, what are the information available, right? And it even customizes that if I could put statistic card badge inside the statistic card, it will do that customization, right? Because in a particular page, if you wanted to show, we need a developer who creates some dashboard.pss, and they will write something like within a development, they will write something like customer cost comes in the top, and I want the static view. But agent doesn't figure that this has to come in the top, but it decides what would be really presentable layer based on the training that it has. Any questions? Yeah.
Let's say there are 10 salesperson reporting to a manager, a director, suppose.
Yeah.
So 10 salesperson, they'll be giving different prompts in terms of getting the UI. And when they'll be pitching it to the director, so director won't have any ambiguity in checking the UI, like 10 salesperson. They'll be giving the data, but each time someone will show as a table, someone will show as an ordered list, someone will show as an unordered list. And giving that difference condition.
It will not give any list. Let's say in your example, if you have a list that you wanted to figure, we always we can constrain these three different lists. One with the description of a component, and this with sort schemas, we can configure how what our component does system. If we input those along with the prompt, it will give you only from the constrained component that you have, and it will work only with it. It will not hallucinate or provide different information.
And the company needs to train those.
Exactly, but it's one time, right? You have to commonly form something like, this is my use case of my product. This is how you should answer, right? This is how we prompt. Like, let's say, even you, if you may know, like, we have to system prompt that we have to always find to be a user. Only if you think that the reply from any agent response would be something like, hey, Sudha, I understand this is always starts in that word. If you have noticed, please try that, it will give you only that word. That is the validation of system prompt. So if you feed whatever the information that you have, rather than building full page, it's better that we edit you one line with the system prompt, and it will give out the whole page layout. It will be beneficial for us, right?
So, how to customize that UI action? Because if the salesperson has a separate recept, and some other roles has a separate one.
Yeah.
So how do we hide? How do we hide, and how do we get that exact information?
Here, this role equal to space, right? Let's say this is another thing, let's say equal to a token. We have that information field there, right?
Yes.
And the MCP one already has that.
Okay.
Correct? So in the my function, based on the role, display all different cards based on the targeting customer. I don't have to, because in all those dashboards, few things will be common, few things will be different, right?
Yes.
That we don't have to specifically return a sales mode dashboard at all. It doesn't have to return. This function will do all those. Because here is what the content comes in, and the content comes in, it picks from all the node goes through, and the LLM decides. The LLM decides which one to pick up. But this helps us constrain that it will not hallucinate, or it will not create old development with custom CSS. Or if you have tried with the cloud code and have created a one day design you will have done, right? let's say 1 day project you make. If you have noticed, background will be black, and if I don't keep saying that my theme is black, it will give something blue and everything, right? So this is something what we are doing here. Unless we constrain the components that we have to feed into the system from, it will hallucinate. And just making sure that agent composing the interfaces, but only composing my people components. It's not imagining it. This is a simple change. That is not your accommodation, not accommodation. It's good to have accommodation. Yeah.
Sometimes the customer reloads the site or the page and some information the next time that dynamic UI is written that. So sometimes it will be missing, right? If they want to show to some other person, when they see it, it is there. And they reload it, next time it is not there. It is not inconsistency.
Okay, I would say there is no percentage it's not going to happen, but there will be less percentage because it's always the inputs is going to be there 10 or 100 components that you are going to write. So it already has those information only. It always decides the same similar flow by going through the references already in place. If you need that more customization and always have the same PRP, you can think of PRPs. You might have seen the annotations in place in the creating the UI business. You can make use of those annotations as well by having the limitation. If it's a DA customer, please go to this dashboard. These conditions or these conditions you can feed along with your system from.
So native price can we cache and optimize that?
We can do that. We can do subscriptions in base system. With the mind flashing that create new instance ISO, we can do that.
So what is the advantage of recurring UI inside getting from MCP? Like I can understand like earlier like we had client side rendering and we have server side rendering. In server side rendering, we got that full HTML to load in the way. In client side rendering, we had just only the JSON to avoid unnecessary re-rendering. For example, if you want to update something and you need to reload that again, that's the reason we move to. And we had hybrid of client side rendering and server side rendering. So now I see like, yeah, so I understand your point. Yes, if I don't have the UI for my data, so it's easy and able to get this one. But what is like, because since LLM is related to the UI, is there any token?
Still, we are having the root development in place. Above that, we are going to have CSL resistance. So what our concept is about behind this development, right? Within the development, you don't have to customize line by line. Instead of customizing line by line within the development, we are making sure the LLM gives me the proper composed UI front end to display within my development or root element.
That is starting to the customer like goes requesting it may not be.
Yeah, but see, some cases that doesn't play a role in it because it's based on what our client will come up, right? So this doesn't involve those concepts.
So then let's say like the salesperson, they are giving the prompt and displaying the UI. So my question is, so the AI will be like, let's say in your organization you have atoms, molecules and organisms, right? So the AI will be leveraging those existing company components only, right? Giving some output. Now let's say there is some enhancement like buttons change from V1 to V2 or guard change to dynamic guard or the composition and the elements got changed. So in that way, how the AI gonna adapt those changes and how the salesperson gonna be trained again to prompt in that way to get a proper dynamic UI or
so for any salesperson, we are just going to give a UI, right? Based on the design system that you link, we have to unlink that the first design system that we have built. Even in our use cases, you might know atoms organisms we have in place. We have segregated that as an MCP separately. Okay, we have linked that MCP into our RR. So in that way, always MTS components, in our case, MTS components always consume. If I don't want this to be a part of my use case, I'll unlink that MCP and I'll link another MCP in place. In that way, they doesn't know what happens in the back.
So each time user within the content content.
Yes, of course.
So how will it be efficient? So
If you want to take the latest data, right? If it's static dashboard, still we don't have to.
actually you are entering the UI code is developed after on the content.
Correct.
So maybe the RAM cost can
You are right. See, I'm not saying that you will always have to go to AWA. My suggestion is that when you have some customization always be in place where you keep the LLM already for the MCP. Why not use the same to have a proper user intent redaction? You got clear answer? Okay. Yes. I will just take one more question in the mark of the show. You use the
So, as the previous person asked, every time I want to hit the enter. So, it will make me a delay when things go to. So, how it will be for the end use?
It will not take delay at all because I already pre-built the component. It is not going to break the components. I have already constrained that I have some 50 components that LLM has to use. I have already made sure that LLM has to use only those 50 components. So it will not take delay in building the components. It will just take making sure that it will arrange the components in particular way. That's all. And in this follow-up question again, we don't have to feed the LLM again and again. If your use case is starting about skip one API and get the data feed, then you don't have to go for A2A at all. You can still rely on UCD ways. My suggestion is to go to A2A only if you need some customization in place. Let's say I'm logging into an e-commerce platform with already pre-owned vehicle. Let's say you have an e-commerce website and you log into that. You will have the information that you have for some price and please yours. Okay, you go there and you will get suggested information referred to your bike, right? Your own bikes, daily and hand brake and everything. There are accessories related to your own product. It will be nice, right? What if you are into a product that you are already using and it needs a customization based on the user's input or the user's intent? If you wanted to do particular customization for a product, then it is the can just break presentation with last slide. So precision, that's what we have already covered with the questions as well. It's about MCP UI and the A2 UI, right? Which is nothing different. I'm not saying that you have to go with A2A or go with MCPs. I'm just taking what are the architecture or the interface viable in the markets and which one to go for based on your capabilities. This is what we have shown here. If you have any doubts about the column that I have written here, we can connect later as well as we have this time. So this is the one matrix that I will say. Still MCP is going to be there. We are going to hit whenever you want with the MCP. And A2 will be your presentation layer for the customer. That's all. And this is a go to reads as we have covered MCP UI and A2AI. If you want to do something to have a Excel or go to reads, we are only on leisure time. These are the AG UI, which we haven't covered. You could explore that as well. So that one, thank you. Okay.
Thanks, Sudha. That was a wonderful session. I'm sure you all got plenty of insights on how database architecture is evolving in the age of AI agents. If you have still more questions, maybe you can ask her, reach out to her in the way. Can you have another round of big applause for Sudha? For actually bring the following people. Thank you, Sudha. Yeah, I know like our brain did lot of exercise now, so it's time for refreshment. Please feel free to grab the snack that we have kept outside and make sure you're not going to bring the snack inside. We need to keep the place clean and most importantly, it's time for network. We have fellow engineers here, connect with them and exchange your thoughts and enjoy your refreshment. And please be here by 4 o'clock sharp.
this breaker. I want you all to open your open your phones again and scan the QR on the screen. We have a commitment to this is same as before, but not a connection game, though it's kind of a quiz. And you will have multiple choice questions, you just have to answer the right ones. Same as before, the fastest finger wins the highest points. And all the questions are not like, they're all technical related, not just one topic. I'm sure we will know all the answers to it. If not, maybe something new you will. Are you all next? In the revision, can I get an answer? How did we see? How many people are in this? Yeah. Okay, remember your names. You know the rules, right? Just have to answer your question as fast as you can so that you get the response. Which HTTP method is used to fetch data? Who is ready to support your mom? What does API stands for? Advanced programming interface, application process integration, application programming interface, applied programming interface. When am I supposed to answer? If you read no wrong answers. Any wrong answers? Application programming interface. Fire is on top again. If fire is on fire. What does JSON stand for? Java Source Object Network, Java Standard Object Notation, JavaScript Object Notation, JavaScript Output Name. We consider this as the first round of interview. JavaScript Object Notation. Pixar is on fire. Who is the Pixar? All of this. Which company developed Yak? Amazon, Facebook, Google, or Microsoft? Please. I will be on this. Fire. That's a random date. Polish line is still there. Although it's the same Polish line as not really. Which company developed the Android operating system? In fact, company developed the Android operating system. It's Google. Will you get it right in fact? And game slow. How is something so fast? How is not already? Okay. What was the first computer virus finally known? Is it creeper? Is it ransomware? Is it spyware or Stuxnet? Creeper. Let's see. Big hacker. Nice. Which company was originally named Packer? You get this right. Is it Amazon, Google, Microsoft, or Yahoo? I'm not. Oh no. I think it's most of it not wrong. Even chocolate things are available. First, the main process of captcha. Involve words or to individualize to speed up the login or to store passwords. Definitely not to store passwords because of words. Everyone was released in which year? 2016, 2017, 2018 or 2019? Got the question wrong, just maybe consider it as a knowledge. You just got to know the answer. And the final question that response. What is the character limit of beat, now called as exposed? 140, 180, 280 or 190? I don't think it is unlimited because I see someone is posting to 2 rates, one of your limit 280. Yeah. Let's see. First. What is that? Oh. Then captain and second. Fourth discuss it together about the comments. Which captain is first?
Whether I choose one more, you want to give to brother I
Who's the fourth? Brother IQ. We got, I think, who's brother IQ? I don't know. We have some. Oh no. You are. Oh. But it was fair, huh?
Oh, fair. Oh, it's fair. Is it 15?
That's nice. It's the taste. I suspect. That's a good thing. Okay. I hope you all enjoyed it. Now that I have all of your attention, so we want to thank our sponsors before we go into the actual session and the technical session. As you all know, events like this don't happen without organizations that believe in building and or nurturing the communities like this. We are glad to have Pfizer's Innovation Labs as our sponsor of today's event. And we have, it's always coming as Sanjay Ramaswamy, but it's Senthil Ramaswamy. We are glad to have Senthil Ramaswamy, the founder of Pfizer's Innovation Labs here with us today. I would like to invite him to speak more about their company, what's their role, what's their mission, all of that. Yes, sir. Our fun fact about Senthil, he's a huge Rajinikanth fan because of which he's also fondly called as Senthil. Senthil, and we read. So among his students, friends also called as Senthil. So a huge round of applause to him.
Thank you all. Thank you for this opportunity. The organizing team as well. I'm part of this organization called SISES. So what SISES is, how did the name come to be of the revolution is, it was almost ninth standard or ninth standard and wanted to start the company. Like, it's called cyber services. I just wanted to do something in computers, did not know what to do. So they wrote a small post-it note and stuck in my study for that sizes, cyber, the first part of cyber and the last part of SES. Like, that's how the name came into evolution. And me and my co-founder studied in Sage, and we were always dabbling with something. We used to have a lot of these community events. Almost all Sundays in the Sundays we go and often send us. There used to be the Geek Night was something that many of you know. Right? That was the only community event at that point, and then we took a couple of things after that and we started coming. Then happy to be back in the circuit, helping a few staff led. And glad that on a Saturday, midday or evening, there are a lot of people who are prioritizing the community events. And thank you for the opportunity for involving us. And quick note about SISES and what we do. So SISES, I'll probably start using the word SISES, what we don't do, right? What we don't do is we don't do human resource sourcing, right? That's something that we took after the very first test. 80% of our revenue entirely comes from product engineering, right? One of my dream goals or one of my dream benchmarking is a company called Thoughtworks. Right? They have a lot of engineering, they have contributed a lot to the community. More than community events, they have actually done a lot of frameworks with respect to product and stuff as well. Introduce technology stacks. They have a very unique flavor on how a software should be built, right? How a consulting should be done, and why a software should be built in such a way. They still hold it. Probably pre-private equity times of Thoughtworks was much better. I've met Rising a couple of times, and that inspired me probably to start the organization. Today we are an 84-member organization. We're still holding true to the roots of the culture that we want to start in the first place. Till date, with that requirement saying, PVA, say, come across. I want 4 engineering guys for me at this task for the next 6 months, and front and React, all these things. We are first one to say no. Right? That's it. That's just to tell you about our culture. Right? What we do is predominantly product engineering. Take end-to-end product stack up again, extend the apps for a couple of US companies, couple of Indian companies, and then see if we can do end-to-end for us, right? Not go all around the way. And this has helped us with a few things over the last couple of years. A lot of the products that we have built has got funded by A16Z and all these folks as well. And that has given us good run over time, a very solid base investments. And recently, over the last 6 to 8 months, we have acquired 1 or 2 products in the product UX space called Loopan, and that's also doing well. And we will try to increase it through our GD and not and our engineering bandwidth. So starting, we wanted to always be a product firm, but because we're not great sales folks, it's important for everyone to know what we're doing. I'm a core engineer at heart. After also 3G, I'm going to pick your friend along with Jyoti. That's how I know Jyoti, who's one of the part of the place. And he's one of my inspiring members. He taught me the basics of React at one place. And then he taught me why he stayed with him important, why service set it important. We've had a lot of volunteers in making things stable for people here. And that's how a lot of our engineering background also came into it. So happy to be extending now that we are also jumping into the product, not like a 0 to 1, but more like something directly with a distressed product and then making it right. It's also an interesting journey. Some of the clients, Indian employees, Swiggy is one of our customers. So all these folks that are part of the Angular, spatial solutions and all these things. So we'll be happy to, you can always ping me on LinkedIn or area, keen to look at AI-enabled talent, as they say, or curious talent in other words, right? Curious. If you have someone who's very curious as to how the future look like, I don't know. No one knows the solutions to it. Today, in the morning, I don't know how many of you saw that Fable was out. Yesterday I was dabbling in Fable for almost we burned $60 in credits. And I was like, it's thinking, it was intelligent. I sounded like it was like an incident for me on point where it took me something on GTM not out of blue, and I said, why can't I do this? Because it's thinking. Other than a deep right, what I want to put. Suddenly there was a note saying fabulous movement out of the way, my person not do that. Not even US folks in Anthropic and like Anthropic citizens as they call it. So yeah, interesting times. So we have to figure it out together. We have an AI squad, we have other things. But again, if you are in the curious culture and all that stuff, then happy to extend arms and then we can talk. Not a hiring bot, but the curious talent trying to talk. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandra. We wish you for the success ahead. On a record note, we also wish to see this uploaded as not more exciting.
I'm happy to host the next event and this year.
Thank you so much. So moving into our next second course session of the day, our next speaker is Rajesh Kumar. He is a senior software developer at PSN with over 14 years of experience as a full-stack developer, specializing in front-end engineering. He has worked extensively with technologies like React, Angular, Node.js, JavaScript, Python, and FastAPI. He is currently in the final semester in Office MTech in AI and Machine Learning at Bristol Learning through their work integrated learning program, where he is actually building AI-powered applications and agentic AI systems. So beyond this corporate role, Rajesh is deeply passionate about knowledge sharing and regularly speaks at tech meetups for students and also working professionals. We will be speaking on understanding AI agents and workflow orchestration today. So please join me in giving him a big round of applause.
வந்துருச்சு ஓகே
அது கரெக்டாக
ஓகே ஓகே இது ஒரு ப்ரௌசர் மட்டும் இது இல்லை இதுதான் இது ரீஜன் டோன்ட் அலோவ் கண்டினியூ வித்தவுட் ஆமாம் ஜாயின்
இது மட்டும் நாங்கள் ஃபில் பண்ணாமல்
The task is given to format task. So we are setting the pipeline for it. And the sequence, that means a fixed sequence. We can call this as a workflow or pipeline. Right? The next is orchestration. So here you are coordinating, like for example, it might be a couple of tasks, multiple pipelines, integration of tools, integration of memory, and integration of retries. All together we can call it as orchestration, workflow orchestration we can call it as. And then agentic, who decides it? So far, like whatever up to this orchestration, right? So we are deciding which level it should happen, what is the order it should happen. We are taking the condition. So if the step 2 output is true, or if the step 2 output is false, based upon the condition, I want to execute some specific order. I'm just specifying it. Whereas in terms of agentic AI, the agents decide how based upon the output of the before agent, what action I should perform. It is internally decided by the AI agents. Right? So I hope now you understand the difference between workflow, pipeline, orchestration, or agentic. So any questions on it? So one thing is like orchestration is related to the nervous systems which keeps runs the loop. For example, LLM things, we have the tools like, for example, analyze. In terms of technical term, we have APIs, codes, search, DBs, etc. And memory is something like we have short-term memory, long-term memory, and vector store we can add. So the LLM is going to take the combination of your tools and memory to run an agent. So it is like a react loop, for example. First it is going to think what going to next, then it is going to act, and then it is going to observe. Based upon the result, again it is going to think until the result is done. It is going to think, act, observe, and again it is going to think. So based upon the until reaching the certain action, it is your agent is going to keep on running, and we can have depends upon the task. For example, if I am going to have a synchronous task, the single agent can able to do one by one. So if my task is going to be entirely not sequence, like it can run in parallel, I can trigger the sub agents to run the task parallelly. If because the output of one agent is not required to another agent. So there are 4 main agentic design patterns are reflections. So one is agent reviews and improves its output. Next one is tool use. Model decides which functions to call, and then the plan break the big task into sub-tasks first, such that the multiple agents we can able to run in parallel. And then the multi-agent, specialized agent working as a team. Right? Okay, see the difference between multi-agent and agentic AI is multi-agent is nothing but the number of agents. Right? The agentic AI is like how it operates with that agent. Okay. As if like we started with prompt engineering. And then the next comes into the context engineering. Context engineering is something that, as I said, like we are providing more context to the LLM. Like you are about your project through the files like skits.md, prompt.md, sections.md, and books.md. Anyone use books.md file? So books is something that which is used to run some events, for example, on every save or every commit. I want to, for example, on every save, I want to run my ESLint rules. I want to fix run the test case on every save or every commit. So that we can able to specify inside the books.md file. We are providing more context about our project. And honest engineering is nothing but the orchestration tools, agents, pipeline around the model. Even for example, I can say the agentic framework models like CrewAI, LangGraph, LangChain, AutoChain, all those can be considered the example of like honest engineering. So the next term is like the loop engineering, which was recently discussed. It is not into the picture, but it is going to be the next big thing, which is announced by the top experts. Right? So design a system that honest engineering like we have CrewAI, LangGraph, MCP tools, customs tool, agent orchestration, are task building. It comes into the honest engineering. You might all be already using it, but it comes under this particular terminology. Okay. So we have something called loop engineering. See, for example, here I have an agent, research agent. The output of research agent this goes an input to the reviewer agent. The output of reviewer agent is goes inside the fix agent, right? So if it is done, it comes out of the loop. But if it couldn't be able to fix the issue, it goes again into the reviewer agent and then research agent, and the loop continues until the result is until your goal is reached, basically. Okay. So any questions so far? Like, so I hope you are clear about like what is context engineering, what is honest engineering, what is loop engineering, right? Yes.
How we can know that the goal is reached? So is there any other verification?
So basically, like the expected output we use to specify, like my goal is this, and this is the expected output. Right? So until it is reaching that expected output, see for example the goal is to send an email at this particular time if I get a reply to this, right? So what we do is we can create a pipeline, like for example, like listener agent. So listener agent will keep on listening whether that specific email is received. And then the writer agent will write an email, right? And then reviewer agent will check whether it is done. I mean, we will get a notification it is successfully sent, right? So based upon our goal, my goal is to successfully send a reply, right? So if I provide that as a goal, so instead of me writing the different agents and what it does to them, the loop engineering, it will take in case if the mail is sent is failed, again it will rewrite. In my orchestration, I will now done it. Like if it fails, what should happen? How many retries it should done? Even we can able to do it, but in loop engineering, it is taken care, right? So one thing like everybody say like we are all as humans, right? So we all thought that at least we will have the role of writing the prompts to make the models understand, right? So in loop engineering, they are saying you don't need to write the prompts. You just provide that. So this is something like just stated 2 days back by Peter, like he is the founder of OpenClaw, who is working on this project. He says that you don't need to be prompting for agents anymore. You should be designing loops that prompts your agent.
So the loops might be retraits of, let's say,
so some of the context, how many retraits, but we're saying the looping agent. Inside the looping agent, you will be configuring what needs to be done inside the looping agent.
It time-based or will it be
It depends upon your task handling. Like if it is like schedule a task, it might be a time-based. And if it is a different task, it will depends upon your requirement. Maybe goal-based, it may be a time-based. Or it may be like, for example, the cost-based, the multiple things considered.
So what if the independent?
That is another problem. You have to be careful. Token tasks can swing widely. Always build a verification in the loop. The agent that, so I mean, even the agent say that it is just a starting point. Because like today we all know that we have a limitation of token mistakes and the cost of the tokens which we couldn't be able to afford, right? So that is one of the limitations. Maybe like in earlier days we might have used the mobile data, right? We are limited to only 60 GB per month, but now we are in unlimited data, right? So something if happens like in the token context also, then this loop engineering will be in HubSpot. So if you want to know about the detail about this loop engineering, Adi or Sami is the director of Google Cloud AI. So he is written a very in detailed article about this loop engineering. So and then like Boris is the head of Cloud Code said, I don't prompt Cloud anymore. I have loops running through the prompt Cloud and figuring out what to do. My job is to write loops, not the prompts. So next. So the three key workflows like we should take care of while we are developing our agentic flow is like one is chaining as the pipeline setup. So what should be done? For example, after A is done, we are giving the task as an input to B. After B is done, we are providing the output of B to as an input to C. So like we specific steps, output feeds a step 2, example, write a copy and translate it. And in routing, what we are doing is, for example, based upon the classify. So if the request is based upon the request, I need to classify which agent has to be called. For example, refund agent, tech agent, or general agent. Based upon the request, I need to call the agent. So instead of having a generalized agents, having specialized multi-agents. So based upon the context, call those specialized agents. And the next one is the evaluator and optimizer model. So when it generates, you should always have a loop to critique it. Once generated, you always critique. So continue that loop until you get a better output. So it all depends upon how you use. See, for example, I can say whatever the task which, for example, in case if I'm using True AI, I cannot say my application as an agentic AI framework. Right? It depends upon what you are doing with True AI. Right? For example, if my task is to write simple one agent and one task, it can be considered as simply a task. I cannot call that as an agentic framework, right? So if my workflow is needed flow changing steps and multiple fields net, I can call it as workflow. Where I need flows, tools, memory, and router plus read sites, I can call it as an orchestration. And agentic, where the two agents decide, delegate, and reiterate, it has to think autonomously, independent of what the standing pipeline is, I said. Then I can call it as a true agentic. Okay. So I hope you all understand about the difference between task, workflow, orchestration, and agentic. Any doubts or questions on that? Okay, I will show you a small demo about a tool, like how we develop, as whatever the example I said, I will show it in the code. Here, this is a simple pseudo kind of story process. So that I specified in my example. Here I have my sorry. So I have my group called poem group, poem creator group. So here I have the agents configured. So basically, what is required for agent is the role, goal, and backstory. So these are the main key points which we need to provide as an input to the agent. So what is the role of that agent? What is the goal of that agent, and a backstory about that agent, like what is this specialized in, right? So basically, all the agents should have this role, goal, and backstory, and we have in task we need to specify what is the description. So what task it is going to execute. Here, for example, it is going to write a poem about flu areas awesome, and ensure poem is engaging, and finally, if you see, I can able to get that sentence count dynamically also. And the expected output is a beautifully crafted poem about flu area with exactly whatever the sentence count I provided. And which agent is going to execute this task is I specify the poem writer. Okay? So this is a simple agent and simple task, and it is going to be executed by this group. So a group will have a pair of agent and task. Here I specify it has to, my agent has to come from this file, and my task has to come from this file. And here I am specifying the group complications like agents, tasks, and what process, like whether it has to execute sequentially. Here in this case, it is only a single agent task. Here this process doesn't matter because I have only one agent. So in case if I have 4 or 5 agents, whether it has to execute sequentially or parallelly, we can able to specify over here. And purpose is about like how it is going to produce some result, like the debugging steps, whatever it needs. It is basically like an insights. For example, for production ready, we can make it as server as false, and for development ready, we can make it as server as true. So this is my true configuration. And then if you see this main file, I'm just calling this group, poem group, called crew off with a method called kickoff. And I'm just specifying the sentence count. I'm not specifying the sentence count. I'm randomly generating that sentence count. Okay. So basically, let me run this. It has generated this poem earlier. Let me delete this. So what it does is, it is going to execute your task, which is going to execute your task is your agent is going to execute your task. Here the flow started, execution started, and the crew will get executed. Inside the crew, we have specified the configurations about the agents and tasks. So the agent's final answer, this is the poem which is written by the agent through the help of LLM. And then I asked it to write it inside this step. So now it has created a file called poem.txt, and this is the file which I generated by LLM, and the sentence count it has taken it as 2 from the random count. So this is how basically an agent's tasks work together to achieve any goal. So agents will have the role, goal and backstory. For the task, we need to provide the description of the expected output and which agent to get executed. The same thing, so this is like, I cannot call this as an agentic framework. This is a simple task because I have only one agent and one task to execute it. So let me show you another example of like the multiple levels where I can call it as agents and where I can call it as a pipeline, for example, which I showed earlier. Like here also again I had one simple agents file and one task file. So here I have one researcher file. Here I'm specifying role, goal, backstory. And I also can specify which LLM I need to work on based upon the task which I am going to execute, based upon the role of the agent. As I said, like for simple role, we can make use of the low reasoning models. For very thinking models, we can make use of the reasoning models. So we can able to specify the LLMs as well. And this is the task which I am going to execute, the description, expected output, and which agent is going to execute. So in the group, I can able to just specify what is the agent and what is the task. So again, this is a simple task. So if I go to the next level, here what I have is, here I have multiple agents. For example, here I have research agent and a translate agent. So output of researcher agent is provided as an input to the translator agent, and it is going to be run in sequence. Once the researcher agent completes, I am going to provide the output of researcher agent to the translator agent. Here the process is sequential, and here I can call this as a pipeline. Okay. So the next is like the orchestration layer. Inside the orchestration layer, so again, here I have multiple agents. So for each agent, like researcher, summarizer, I'm specifying the role, goal, backstory. And if you see here, I'm providing the tools for an agent. So whether it should connect to an external tools or internal tools, here the agentic framework harness comes into the picture. For the agent, I'm providing the option to connect to the tools and LLM and Goros. And here we are specifying the task output. So summarize the task. And finally, for this agent, again the same role, goal, backstory, LLM we are providing, and then we can be able to provide the tool. And here what it does is, as we see in the slide, what it is going to do is, it is going to run in a loop. We can able to specify kickoff and how many loops it should retry. I can able to specify that retry of, for example, the first reviewer agent will run, and then the translator agent will run. So based upon that output, whether it needs to be continued to the researcher agent or your task is done, you need to specify the loops, how many times it has to continue. So here I'm specifying of the max loop, we can able to specify how many times it should iterate. So we should have that control. We cannot make it as infinite because we will run out of the tokens. So the same thing applicable to loop engineering as well. As I said, like I don't have an exact working application of loop engineering. Again, the loop engineering is same as like we are going to control that with the number of max loop which are going to specify. So that is still interesting how we are going to come up with loop engineering, because as I said, the token limit is one of the really pain points today for this loop engineering. you assistant or the explanation I give it in the code, the same thing like I have agents.yml, tasks.yml file. And how, when it goes to LLM, right, how it's going to assemble to an LLM, like case is going to specify the role, you are a senior research analyst, you are a meticulous analyst. So the role of the agent followed by, this is how, finally the data, even though we have separate files, right, so it is like for our code organization, like we are separating it, but when it goes to LLM, right, so it goes in this order, the role of the agent followed by the task. Not only this context, whatever you are using in your application, right? So when I say about context engineering, or it is not only the prompt what you are typing is going to the LLM. Your entire project context is going as a context to the LLM. So as I demonstrated, like one agent, one task, this one level, where we control the workflow, we are adding the tool and mitigate agentic. So to make it agentic, like we can control to have the connection to tools, to do the MCP like database, GitHub, files, or search agent, we can able to connect. Okay, when not to use agent is like for example, the best agent is often no agent is like the Anthropic advice. So when you write the steps in advance, you don't need an agent. So if you know what are the steps it is going to execute, if you know the fixed steps, right? So this is my pipeline. For example, first it is going to execute this. Next it is going to be execute this. So at those time we don't need to have this agentic AI. Okay. So the production based practices are retries and fallback. Always have the option of retries and observability. Like we have to trace the steps like through the. Even we can be able to make use of the libraries called Landsmith, Landfuse, and always have the human in loops and evaluate it. How many of you do like evaluation metrics? Anyone have idea about like the libraries like TrueLens, Ragas, Eval? So these are the libraries which is used to evaluate the response generated by LLM. So it is not always whatever the response generated by LLM is correct. So we will provide our input and we will provide our output and we will send the LLM response. So what this evaluation metrics libraries do is it will evaluate whether the response, the output by the LLM is connected to the input and your expected output. So always make use of this evaluation metrics also in pipeline. And the structured output and stop conditions always have a human symbol. So the key takeaways are the generative AI answers, agentic acts, and you are seeing workflow, who designs the steps, agentic AI decides the step. AI agent is nothing but a combination of LLM and tools in loop. The four patterns which we see is reflection, tools use, planning, and multi-agent. Anatomy is the design charts, the registration is often named knowledge. Yeah. So that's all about my content today. So we can conclude. If I have any questions,
The significance for going with Python.
going with
Python.
Python. Okay. I guess like even we can able to go with JavaScript, Node.js, TensorFlow.js as well. The advantage of going with Python is like Python has some built-in libraries like for example scikit-learn, pandas, NumPy, everything. The libraries, the proven libraries are available in Python. So it is not maintained, but the Python has the mark of like having the existing community and existing library which does better with this particular use case.
And there's the curious follow-up. Have you seen on your research any compatibility issues with using JavaScript libraries versus achieving the same content?
In AA, when it comes to AA, I have tried with TensorFlow.js, everything like I use Python and Fast API. And moreover, like in my current application, like we are using Pro AA and we are providing it as a like no-code solution to the customer. Like whatever we have the provision to get the agents and task rules from the user in the background, we will run it. So it is basically like a no-code solution which we are providing to the user. To answer your question, in AA, I have tried in JavaScript.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Rajesh, for the session. So I'm interested in throwing this time, like from the metrics talk, and ALTLC metrics, something like loop you were mentioning, or constraints you were mentioning about it.
Yeah, so one thing is like in evaluation metric, as I said, we use this libraries to evaluate the response of the generation metric. And in the loops, we try in our application, like we have a maximum loop of like 5 times. So in our use case, like we have an option of like creating an assessment for the authors. So they will provide the prompt and they will provide others the contents. We use to generate an assessment. So what we do is we generate an assessment, evaluate like whether it is repeating the same questions like which is resulted in further request, and use to evaluate. And if it repeats the same question, and again we try to make that loop to regenerate it to avoid the duplications of question. So the maximum number of retries what we are doing is we will compare with the help of the evaluation matrix. The maximum decrease which we currently have in the application is like 5 to avoid that again to further burn the tokens.
So typically your convergence rate is 5.
Yeah, right. Currently. Yeah.
And you know what is the best in the industry probably?
I believe it depends upon the use case. Yeah.
Yeah, hi Rajesh. So you mentioned about that token getting exhausted. So I recently got into this problem, like my organization recently from June they implemented this and they are spending around $25 per developer. Right. So it's like out of 30 days instantly only I ran out my entire quota and I have to wait for the next month to get it renewed, GitHub Copilot. So my question is how you guys are tackling such kind of scenarios, or what is your advice on efficient token credit utilization? And one more thing, let's say like I'm giving a prompt to create a React component, and in another prompt I'm giving write the unit test case. Other scenario, I'm giving a single prompt, create a React component and write the unit test cases. So which one is more efficient in terms of the credit utilization, or what's your insight on this credit utilization?
Yeah, very good question. So regarding the token utilization, right? As I said earlier, it depends upon the models which you are choosing, right? Either it is Copilot or Cursor. We have the option to select the models, right? For example, GPT, Claude 4.6. Even in Claude 4.6 also we have the option of like low, medium, and high, and we have Opus. So if you say Opus, it will take like 10x of your tokens. If you use 4.6, it will take 2x of your tokens. So depends upon the task which model you are choosing. For example, as I said earlier, if your agent role is to just conversion, for example, I have data in one format, I want to convert it to another format. For those, we don't require high reasoning model, which will take more tokens. I can select a lower end model or low cost model. For example, Cursor provides Composer, which will not consider as the token limit. It is like an open source for Cursor. So, and we can make use of the small language models as well. So in that way, we can able to reduce the token limit. That is one way. Another thing is like as I said earlier, first try to, if you're creating a new feature, try to create it in a plan mode. As I said, right, I want to create an AI component. I want to run the test case. So what you do is, create it in the plan mode. First what you do is, it will create a plan file.
Plan means ask mode, is it?
Right. So currently we have plan mode as well. Earlier we have asked in edit mode. Now we have separately a plan mode as well. Plan mode as well. So what it will do is it will create a plan.md for you. So it will create a React component. So after creating it, it will ask you to run the unit test for the React component. So planning mode, you can create and you can make use of the high-end models like reasoning models. It will create a better plan. So executing it, we can be able to execute with the mid-end model. So it will execute because you already have a clear plan. So it will execute with the lower-end model.
Yeah. Last question, Rajesh, for me.
For that sample, I recently came to know this. I made to test on this. There is something called an open source, free open source tool called Headroom. HEAVROOM. Headroom. Just go and check it in that data. So what it does is, interestingly, if you are using the Claude agents or the related items, the services, so it transforms the token usage and reduce it somewhere into 1/10, right? In an example use case, what I have read it, 65,000 tokens for a specific use case. It would able to, with the help of optimizing through headroom, we could able to accomplish that at 5,000 tokens. And that's the level of
compressing the context.
So wherever certain things can be optimized in the local way, that it tries, and then only the exact way of harnessing the prompt, it just fine-tune the prompt, whatever you are asking, it just fine-tune the prompt and then send the ones which are extremely relevant. So I haven't tried it, but when I looked at it and then see, it was pretty impressive. 65,000 tokens to 5,000 tokens. It is advised by one of the leading guys in the AI Bible session. So that's what I got my attention.
Thanks for attending this. What I also learned that recently, like whatever the prompt you are typing with typos, it doesn't matter. Automatically LLM can and able to handle the typos as well. So we don't need to correct those typos as well.
We can take one last.
Yeah, sure.
It's not actually a question. Basically, because of headroom, as I mentioned, right, we'll actually do. All we have to do is we have to clone a proxy server and then be connecting to your cloud or whatever session you're doing. What it basically does is it compresses the context. At the same time, it's creating a hashing environment. So if the model doesn't get enough context, it can go to the hashing message or hashing link to get the full context. And at the same time, it has reduced the total usage time also. I've used it, so it is using great.
And it's free.
Thank you everyone. Thanks for being here. Thanks for the opportunity. Thank you everyone.
Thanks, Rajesh. That was a wonderful session. I hope now everyone in the group have much better understanding about agents, agentic AI, and the workflow orchestration, and how it is shaping the future of maybe the artificial applications that we are creating. Now we can give another big round of applause to Rajesh to share his time with the knowledge. As we come to the end of today's meeting, it's not too forget to felicitate our speakers who spent enough time to share their knowledge, experience, and learnings with us. For that, I would like to invite Purush to felicitate Rajesh. I would like to invite Purush to felicitate Rajesh. Purush brings over 25 plus years of experience and he serves as an engineering manager at Kumar. Purush.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Thanks, Purush. Now I would like to invite Bala to felicitate Sudha. Who brings over 20 plus years of experience and currently serves as a platform engineering manager at Kumar. Thank you, Bala. Purush, the stage is yours to give the thanking you.
Hello everyone, good evening. This is our second quarter event. Hope some of you know that we conduct this Meetup event every quarter. So this is second quarter event. And it's coming to the end. I think you had a fantastic learning today. Two great sessions. Lot of ideas exchanged. And it's very timely as well, right? Now every individual company is transforming into AI. I think these topics are really, really important. Right? Hope you can take back these learnings and apply it in your company or for your personal use. Okay, so with that, I'd like to thank the speakers.
Sudha and Rajesh, wonderful sessions. Thank you so much for taking time out and sharing your experience and deep insights, really helpful. Thank you. And this events, right? This community requires a lot of back-end support. So I would like to thank CISES for their sponsorship, supporting us and motivating us. Thank you so much. I think Senthil is not there. Thank you so much, CISES team. And then I would like to thank Yuniq as well. They are providing wonderful space and refreshments and supporting us this event. Thank you, Yuniq team. And then the next go to the participants. Thank you so much. Sunday afternoon, you are spending valuable time. I hope you have a lot of learnings. You can use it. Thank you so much. We are looking forward to see you again in our third quarter event. And then finally, yes, the backbone, right, for this event, right? It requires a lot of planning, execution, right? Organizers, right? Starting from MGs, and then starting from registration, right? We usually start a couple of weeks back, right? Registration, planning, social media handling, poster creation, agenda publishing, finalizing the speakers. A lot of thankless efforts are going into these events. So I would like to thank all our organizers. Thank you so much for flawless execution. I would say flawless execution. This time, in fact, we started a bit late, but we finally pulled up. Thank you so much for to all our organizers. Okay. So with that, I think I want to take two things right now. Can we take a group picture with all? Right, that's the one thing. Right, with all the participants, and then with the organizers, two pictures. And then while you are going back, please hand over your visitor pass. Don't forget. Those are the two things I wanted to mention. Thank you again. Looking forward to meet you in our third quarter event. Thank you.
Before the group photo, please help us to share with the feedbacks. Your feedback matters the most. If you have any live feedbacks, like you can share it now, or you can scan the code and share it over there. That really helps us. Anyone have any live feedbacks? Okay. Everybody is trying to scan the code. Maybe there is no like feedbacks there. Okay, please provide this over there. And you can follow us on LinkedIn and as well as the Instagram. So you will get notified about the upcoming events. You want to serve anything. Okay, you all answer the feedback needs. You can group at one place and take a group photo. Maybe here, we can do the chats.